For decades, when the conversation was about people being insecure about their bodies, that talk was usually about women. It was mainly women having cosmetic surgeries, while beauty products were almost all aimed at women. The quest for body perfect was on, and the stress involved in trying to look the right way was enough to make someone spend a small fortune on products and clinics. But something changed not so long ago. About the time the millennial generation grew into their last shoe size, it was men in the mirror stressing over their unperfect face and flabby belly. These days, you can find all manner of articles talking about men and their six-pack stress, or recent credible research showing that these days, men are more concerned about their body image than women. Not surprisingly, more fellas are now going under the knife, hoping for an Instagrammable body. First of all, let's talk about the new man and his body image. That research we just mentioned was published by The Guardian in 2012. It revealed that in the UK, in one particular study, 80.7% of men talked in ways that promote anxiety about their body. That means those men talk a lot about perceived imperfections of their body, how they should look and how they shouldn't look. The same study found only 75% of women did the same. It also found 38% of men interviewed were willing to give up at least 1 year of their life if they could have the perfect body. Fewer women would do the same, although the newspaper didn't say how many. Astoundingly, 5.3% of men interviewed said they would sacrifice a decade or more of their life for the perfect body now. That study also found that a lot of men were so stressed about how they looked, they didn't even go to the gym out of fear. Many men were taunted about their belly or man boobs, while about 1/5 of men were on a special diet to improve muscle mass or lose a bit of weight. To our younger viewers, this won't come as a surprise, but you don't have to go too far back and men would have laughed at this kind of insecurity. You get the picture. In this age of tech-driven narcissism, men's confidence in their bodies is at an all-time low. What happened to these men, the guys, the geezers, the fellas, the chaps, the fathers, the brothers, the sons and uncles? These new men, so obsessed with their pecs, their arms, their abs, getting turned out on Tinder, made fun of on Facebook, insulted on Instagram, are looking for a way out of reality, a solution to the puzzle of body perfection. Many of them are turning to cosmetic surgery. Just listen to what a professor of men's health at Leeds Metropolitan University in the UK said to The Guardian. He said, "There's been a big increase in the numbers of British men having cosmetic procedures, such as a nose job or removal of breast tissue. That's gone from almost nothing to quite a significant industry over the last 10 years. Let's face it, six-pack surgery was always bound to happen with all this insecurity around. In fact, in 2018, the tabloid media interviewed a bunch of young British men to find out how they felt about their bodies. Here are some of the replies. Age 25. I'd like to lose my gut, have a nicer and more symmetrical face, get some new teeth, have nicer hair and bigger arms. Actually, there's not much about me that I do like. Age 25. I would like bigger arms and to tidy up my stomach a bit, plus white teeth and a strong jawline. Age 27. Sometimes I look at my ripped body and think, who's this for? Do I even want to look like this? I'm straight, but I'm always at the gym to try to beef up, which means I have no social life and spend most of my time either looking at myself in the mirror or comparing myself unfavorably with other bigger men. Age 19. There have never been more ways to measure your success or failings as a man, your pecs, your abs, and arms. There is enough evidence out there to suggest that indeed more men are now likely to at least think about six-pack surgery. You can find statistics that tell you that more men in many nations now are getting plastic surgery. In the USA, according to the data supplied by the American Society of Plastic Surgeons in 2017, 1.3 million American men had cosmetic procedures, and that was an increase of 29% since the year 2000. One plastic surgeon with offices in New York and Los Angeles said the number of men getting surgeries from 2018 to 2022 would shoot up. In his practice of late, he saw a change, and that was more men getting surgeries than women. Selfie culture in recent years has made that surgeon a lot of money. You can find a slew of articles and research out there talking about a crisis of masculinity, the male mental health crisis, high male suicide rates, an era in which men have been demoted from their role as protector and provider but don't seem to have found a new role. Well, maybe the new role is looking good on Instagram and showing off a chiseled body. What we're trying to say, in answer to today's question, is that it's not at all surprising that six-pack surgery is taking off. Before we tell you how much it's taking off, we should tell you a little about the surgery itself, but we won't spend too much time on this as we've already talked about it in another show. Many overweight men that get that six-pack surgery might have had liposuction around the waist, particularly that region we call the love handles. That's because to chisel out those abs and for them to look good, you might have to remove a lot of fat first. Some guys might also go for a breast reduction to remove those man boobs, as that might look out of place with the new six-pack. One guy we found also had deltoid and bicep augmentation because hey, surely if you have that six-pack, the rest of your body should also look like something you regularly work to death at the gym. What happens next is something called abdominal etching. This is how the Journal for the American Society of Plastic Surgeons describes the procedure. The etching technique is performed with liposuction in a superficial plane to create indentures consistent with a six-pack abs or definition of vertical abdominal lines. Some surgeries also offer implants, with the New York surgery describing it like this. Abdominal implants take it one step further, actually placing implants throughout the region, providing an even more defined and structured appearance. As we've said in other shows about cosmetic surgeries and implants, there's always some risk, but we won't go into that today. What we want to know is, are more men getting six-pack surgery and will it become more popular? Well, as it's newish and we're talking about it and more surgeons are offering it, of course it's taking off. According to the British media, more young Brits are flying into Thailand to get the surgery done because it's cheaper there, around $3,800. We found another Brit who made headlines because he flew to Turkey to get his 48-hour six-pack and he paid $3,500. The guy said he was thrilled with how he looked after. In the USA, you might pay up to $10,000, so that's why some folks opt for a holiday and some surgery. And if you stay long enough for the bruising to go down, you might just get the beach body you want for your island holiday. The procedure might be cheaper, it just depends on how much etching you require, other fat removed, and which clinic you go to. Thailand has always been a hub for medical tourism and people from the West wanting to change their face, get some gold-plated teeth, or transform their sexual organs. One Thai surgeon at one of the more well-known places people go to get six-pack surgery said this in a newspaper article. "We've been doing this for about 3 to 4 years now. We get anywhere from 20 to 30 customers requesting a six-pack every month." But the surgeon also said this: if you really want the surgery to work well, you have to have some muscle there in the first place. He said most people he gets in his surgery are already fitness junkies, but they feel that they're not defined enough. He said this: in order to naturally get a six-pack, one needs to work out as well as get lean. Many of our clients come in with a lot of muscle. They just want to save themselves months of leaning down. This surgery won't transform an obese body to a ripped body. One guy who actually was Thai was all over the media after his six-pack surgery. He went to a clinic where you can get the job done and then also get your penis or nipples whitened. We had a look at forums to see what people, well, men, were saying about getting a six-pack job. We should say that while articles are now saying things like six-pack surgery is now a thing, it's actually been around for a few years. On Reddit, most people didn't seem interested in getting the surgery, and a few posters said men doing it were just lazy and didn't want to put the work in. One poster wrote, "Imagine being this desperate for people to look at you." Another said, "This seems like unnecessary vanity surgery." And yes, it looks super weird to have shredded abs next to love handles and poorly defined pecs. But I'm more curious about the long term. Another person said, "If this isn't a sign of the times we live in, instant gratification, I don't know what is." With that in mind, it seems many people out there seem to think such surgery is not worth doing, and people need to stop being so vain. With all this criticism around, maybe more men won't be signed up to get this procedure. But then again, as we've shown you today, there are a lot of insecure guys out there who worry all the time about not having the perfect body. Many of these men are still young, and so we guess a lot of you worry about your body. Would you sign up for getting an instant six-pack? What if it were free? Do you have body insecurities? Tell us in the comments. Also, be sure to check out I did 30 push-ups for 30 days and this is what happened. Thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.